What do I look like when I'm on your shoulder?
You're like a little devil.
What am I wearing, though?
Huh? Like a devil outfit.
Is it tight, like skin tight?
I don't even know that it's clothes.
That's so ridiculous. Oh, God.
Welcome back to Past Your Prime. I'm Alex Keicher, pro volleyball player, dad, and a guy who spent last weekend playing 8 matches in the sand, finishing second, and learning that my body is lying to me. I'm joined by Craig Smith, physical therapist, strength coach, and the man who taught me that sometimes the smoke is in your calf, but the fire is in your back.
Ooh.
Today, we're breaking down why your lower back is secretly sabotaging your legs. Why nerve flossing might be more important than stretching, think it always is, and how I saved my tournament by lying on the ground and tricking my nervous system into calming down.
You got second.
Which honestly was a feat. I went into last weekend thinking I would get last place.
That sounds just stupid. Why?
As I was driving to this tournament, I was internally monologuing with myself that this is the first time I'm driving to this specific venue for a sand tournament and thinking I'm not going to win. And actually kind of knowing that I wasn't going to win.
Why? Why?
I haven't played sand volleyball in at least 6 years, I think. I think I might have subbed once in 6 years and I was just absolutely terrible.
I don't understand, why were you bad? What happened?
Sand is such a different beast. Like, you need to retrain yourself on how to move and how to jump, and you've got to be less power oriented and a little bit more skill oriented. This was like kind of me testing the waters of like, should I even try and play the sand variant of my favorite sport, or should I just stick to what I know?
Did you say the sand is a different beach or a different beast?
I don't know. I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, that's fire. That's fine. Did you say fire in the back or fire in the belly?
Fire in the back.
Okay.
Does back sound like belly to you?
I don't know why. The words, I feel like bees are clearly my struggle today.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Bumblebees or honeybees?
All the bees. He had a little bit of a struggle reading today, but we got through it, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm super positive about it.
Yeah. Literacy is my kryptonite.
You were nervous, though, that your calf was going to blow up on you during the
I think that's
tournament.
A little bit of the premise for today's podcast. 6th match out of 8 total. I felt that pre-cramp, I guess is what I call it, and where the warning signs and the sirens start going off in my torn calf.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily was able to kind of take it easy that specific match. It was the first round of actual tournament play after pool play. I had done all the right things. My nutrition was on point. I had been fueling in between matches, and it still had that little siren go off. And so luckily got through that match and won it, but then I finally had a break. I'd only had like a couple of short breaks in between the first 5 matches of the day, and so same thing, electrolytes, getting some pretzels in, did some granola bars, had some hard-boiled eggs, had a lot of good nutrition going on.
Bulgogi?
No bulgogi, although that might have put me over the edge nutrition-wise. It's actually the first tournament I ever played where I gained weight during the tournament. I found that interesting.
I love that.
Because I usually come home like 10 pounds later.
Yeah, and you were doing a little bit of an experiment, and that you really wanted to rule out that it wasn't a fatigue issue or something related to your nutrition that was driving the
Not
calf issue.
intentionally, but I wanted
did.
But it ended up being a little case study, and I really wanted to be intentional about my fueling to make sure that wasn't a part of it, and hopefully I wouldn't experience any sort of pre-cramp or cramp or lower leg tension unnecessarily.
But unfortunately, you got to game 6. The thing happened. You got through the game, and then what did you do?
I went and sat down on the bench and said, what would Craig do?
That's exactly what I wanted you to say.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah. And so I mentally had to like regroup myself, and I was like, I'm going to do my nerve flossing. And I was like, every time I do my nerve flossing, it doesn't 100% fix the problem. What else would Craig tell me to do? And he would say, Alex, it's your lower back. And I was like, my lower back is not even hurting right now. But Craig would say, it's your lower back, do something for your lower back. And then like little Craig would be like, also do some glute activation. I basically laid down for like 20 minutes. And then when I got back up for the match, kind of eased into getting up, did nerve flossing again for my lower leg, and then did some glute activation, and then got into my general warm-up. And lo and behold,
You're better.
match 6 and 7 had no issues.
I love it.
Had a really hard 7th match, and then just got destroyed in the finals.
Who were you playing against?
Some really good players.
You know what's funny? I am excited that it got better, but I'm more excited that you visualize me. Like that's
It was
actually
the first time
favorite
where I
part.
literally was like, what would Craig do? And he was like, we did a whole podcast that nutrition isn't my problem. This was the proof kind of there, but also that I need to get out of gravity.
What do I look like when I'm on your shoulder?
You're like a little devil.
What am I wearing though?
Huh?
What am I
Like a devil outfit.
Is it tight, like skin tight?
I don't even know that it's clothes.
That's so ridiculous. Oh God. So this coincides at
You
the
have a
same
tail.
time.
You have a
Yes.
tail.
Yeah, I have a tail. I knew this.
And a pitchfork.
Which, yeah, this coincides with at the same time I've had several clients recently where they've come in and they've had very significant lower extremity injuries, and we get through the whole process, everything's feeling better, and by the time we get to phase 3 where we're progressing their activity, it becomes very clear with our screening that their low back is actually the instigator of symptoms. No pain, but their low back is straight up what is driving the reason they got the injury in the first place. And these two things happening together were why we wanted to talk about your low back can be a bigger issue. It can drive a bunch of issues that you don't even think are your low back, but they're really coming from your low back, even if pain's not there.
So let's talk about what's actually happening.
So most often what's happening there, I always think of there's 4 reasons that your low back could actually be involved. First one, the most obvious one, is what we call myotome disturbance. You can have where there's an irritation to your spine. So you have your disc, vertebra disc, and just to keep it really simple, something back there can get irritated, and it irritates the nerve root as it's passing out of the spine. And when that happens, there are certain muscles in your body that are primarily supplied by that nerve root. So the big ones, we think of your quad is the L3 nerve root. Your anterior tibialis is going to be your L4 nerve root. Your extensor hallucis longus, the one that extends your big toe, like pulls it back, that's L5 nerve root. And then your calf is primarily S1. All that means is that you can actually check the strength of those and you can figure out if a certain level in your spine is compromised or irritated. And I think that people get myotome disturbances, especially individuals who've had recurrent low back pain or they've had an issue in their past. It makes the nerve more susceptible to some level of irritation. The muscle will just shut down and they won't even catch it. So what it'll look like is somebody will come in and all of a sudden I'll catch it. They can barely extend their big toe, which doesn't seem like it'd be that important, but it's actually very important because it's one of your muscles that helps control your foot, helps to control loading response and absorb force, or their calf is completely off. And we'll even have sometimes, or if it's been going on for a long time, people will come in and they'll have severe calf atrophy. And we've had it where there's no back pain. And the one this week that I had, it was an elite runner who had, somebody who's running 50 miles a week. They had calf atrophy. Like the muscle was actually smaller, and they keep on getting this Achilles injury, and it's coming from their back, which is pretty shocking.
I was able to shut down my Achilles problems, which is nice, but I found it super weird that I did not feel like I was having any issues in my back. What's going on in the back that's affecting the lower leg? It's just irritated?
Well, that's a good question.
Feeling it?
Yeah, you can get, I call it subclinical, but it's not coming to your brain that there's an issue there. It could be maybe just tightness, and you interpret that as, it's a muscle that's tight. It could be, but typically it's the person has what's called a clinical lumbar instability, and you're not controlling the segments very well. And when those instability moments happen, it doesn't just have to produce pain as a symptom. It can actually just cause the whole nervous system complex to become more dysfunctional.
Okay.
So you have the myotome disturbances, like the first one I look for. The second one would be the muscles get inhibited that stabilize the core, and then like your glute, like those can get shut down, which is a little bit different than a myotome disturbance where a nerve root is impacted. This can just be literally the body has a dysfunctional response, and then you don't coordinate your core well together, or it shuts your butt off, which is kind of wild.
How do you know that the back is the problem there, even though the smoke signals are coming from from elsewhere.
Your belly. No, I'm just joking. From your calf.
Yeah.
For you, for example. Well, the first one is, can you diagnose it? And so we can go through, you can do really specific tests. And our team looks at it. There's 4 pillars for diagnosis. You have structural, functional, treatment response, and triggers. These ones, it's kind of confusing because you don't typically get a clear structural signal to generate pain. So most often when we go through an exam, you're looking for something that hurts. This one, you're trying to recreate the symptom that you think is linked with the other injury. So like, for example, for your calf, if I did a structural exam, I would look to see if I'm seeing things like we call back signs, neural tension positions. Like if I put you in a neural tension stretch position, it's way worse on one side versus the other. Yeah. Have we done that on you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is it different?
I think that's how you diagnosed me originally several years ago.
Yeah. You have a very, very big difference in slump tests on one side versus the other. And that indicates there's a level of neural irritation, and we linked it with 2 spots. So you have a double crush syndrome, which is a little bit different, but I think it's vulnerable in your calf because of your back. So you can do a structural exam. It's just you approach it from a different thought process. The other one is a functional exam, and that's often when you catch it. You can catch that the person has dysfunctional patterns. You can catch issues that seem to be unrelated to their back, and all of a sudden you make the back feel better, positive treatment response, and that dysfunction goes away. Those are all things that point to it. I always look for inducing an event that causes the thing to happen and then do an exam again. And that's really, we call them key signs. But you say you were playing volleyball, you did the treatment, so you had a positive treatment response, and that really rules in your back being strongly involved.
Yeah, that functional test, I was just thinking internally that we had tried to fatigue my calf several times in the clinic here, and we're never able to do it. But the calf was never really the problem.
You've never shown fatigue in the calf.
Yeah. And I can do unlimited calf raises, weighted, not weighted, 100, 200, super heavy weight, and it's never triggered that same response. So,
I mean, have you noticed a calf strength difference when you've done really heavy single legs? Yeah, so that's the fascinating part to me is we call them discovery sessions, but you'll take somebody through and you'll try to irritate the symptom, try to cause a thing to happen. And that can be very enlightening. But there's sometimes where you have to put the fire out in the other place first before you can really link it back to what a root cause was. But for you, for example, it would be so easy for us to just assume it's the calf and then do all this other stuff for the calf, make sure you're getting massage and all these other things. But if it's your back, none of that stuff's ever going to touch it. It's not going to correct it.
I wonder if, doing heavy deadlifts or good mornings or something that's more low back dominant and like not necessarily irritating it, but maybe actually irritating it would trigger a different response in some of the calf loading.
I mean, that's so smart. Like that's right? Exactly what it would be fascinating to see.
Did you just call me smart?
I did call you smart.
Whoa.
But it could be.
I think I need to leave.
Yeah, what's happening? Let's call it a day. But if you did deadlift and then you did calf raises and you notice all of a sudden your calf raises were worse, that would be one thing. But sometimes when we get to phase 3, which for us is where we really progress your tissue capacity, sometimes we'll link those together and try to make stuff more durable. So we'll do something that could be irritating to your back, but you're training it not to be irritated and then training durability afterwards. You might even try to do the calf raises afterwards, and that'd be a positive. It's like your body's building capacity.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
Just because of my Achilles, I've been a little bit softer on some of my calf stuff, but this week would have been a good week since I did heavy deadlifts. I should have went and just tried some calf stuff afterwards.
It would be useful. I mean, that'd be a useful way to think about your programming.
Yeah.
Because you're looking to create it to be more durable. That would be really smart.
Yeah. Why does it seem like, and I know that this isn't the only instance you had mentioned the quads, and I think there's probably other correlations out there, but why does the back mess with the legs in general? Is it just because of all of those different nerve roots? I mean, they go from your head to your toes. So
well, that's also, yeah. I mean, I think most injuries happen in the lower extremity because of force absorption issues. Like if you're looking at running, for example, you really look for the most injuries will happen when the person is trying to absorb the force that's being generated during landing. And if your back is compromised at all, and it causes any of the things I just talked about, whether it's myotome disturbance, a discoordination, you can have muscle firing or motor patterning issues, and you have neural tension. If any of those things are happening, it can make it so that your body's not as good at absorbing load. And when that happens, it can cause all these other dysfunctions. So they're really tightly linked. And then you tie on top of that, our bodies have evolved basically to have a very mobile spine so we can keep our center of mass over our base of support. Our lower extremity is so tightly linked to how our spine performs. And if you have any issue at your spine, it just compromises what your legs can do. They're so tightly linked, but sometimes, like we were talking about, the signal can be very unclear what the root cause is. So I do look for, somebody comes in and they tell me that they have recurrent injury in their legs, whether it's an Achilles tendinopathy, a foot issue, anything like that. My brain's already going to, they might have something up the chain that's driving this recurrent pattern.
Yeah. We'll look at wherever the localized issue is first and kind of rule anything out there, but then you're automatically going back to the back spine.
Yeah, and there's some physical therapy, some physical therapists, some rehab professionals who really emphasize movement patterns really early on in the process of rehab. I think it's a mistake to not address the actual injury that the person comes in for. They'll do things like, you have a missing limitation in your foot, that's what's driving your back pain, or they'll say, well, I caught that you're missing cervical motion or thoracic motion, even though the person comes in, they're like, well, it's my knee that hurts.
Yeah.
I think that's insane.
It's like having somebody go into a deep squat and realizing, okay, you're lacking hip mobility or something to that effect.
Yeah, you got it. And they might go after that thing, and I'm fine with it. That's not the way I practice, not the way I think of it. I really like to go after what the person feels is their main problem first. And then once they own the pain part, because pain itself can cause you to move dysfunctionally, it's more when we get to the point of closing out rehab, we call them contributing factors, things that caused it to happen in the first place. You have changes in your nervous system. We call that central modulation. You can have regional influences, and then you can have local changes at the tissue. Those three things you just want to make sure are all really, really clean and clear. The regional influences, that's what we're talking about when we talk about the back.
I mean, this one fooled me for sure, because for all of these years, I've never been able to actually get through. I know I've talked about the nerve flossing actually getting me to be able to play longer in some of my indoor things, but it was the first time that I just laid down and had that have as big of an impact. Are there other connections? I know we've talked about, elbow pain sometimes coming from neck, or I keep wanting to say like radiating, but referral. Are there other
100%
referrals that are similar to this?
The one that you just brought up is really interesting. You can have neck issues that cause a myotome disturbance again, has certain levels. So like, let's say C7.
What do we talk about? Grip strength.
Yeah. And you'll have individuals who start to develop elbow pain because they're gripping harder because they have a neck issue and a cervical instability. Those are not uncommon at all. Your body is amazing at compensating, and when it compensates, it's accomplishing the task that you want to accomplish. I actually find the more athletic and the more driven a person is, in their head, they're basically saying, hey, I have to get this done. Your body will help you get it done. Compensations in themselves are extremely useful, but sometimes those compensations will make an injury linger forever. It's not quite bad enough that you ever have to address it. It just causes this recurrent issue every time you try to increase your level of activity. Gripping is one of the bigger ones. People will overgrip because they have like a neck issue that basically shuts off some of their muscle coordination in their hand. That's a really big one.
What are the other low back ones?
Low back ones?
I mean, I feel like mine is just pretty specifically related to having a torn calf.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that if I'd never tore my calf, that I would never be dealing with this issue, but it sounds like other people will have this issue without any actual physical muscle problems.
So most people are going to have some level of back issue in their past, right? Which predisposes you to have this happen. So anyone is really predisposed to it if you have that combined with a lower extremity issue. And I find that anybody who pushes themselves really hard is going to be typically run into this, but the most common ones would be, if I just had to run it down, starting from the hip going down, recurrent hamstring strains. You start to develop this feeling like your hamstring is going to overfire or cramp all the time. That's a really common one. Typically, that's because your hamstring starts to become dominant over your glute muscle. So you start to have this, we call it synergistic dominance. You have one of the muscles is firing too hard. So then individuals, say they start to do speed work, they'll feel almost a cramp develop. Sometimes they'll actually tear their muscle. So came from their back, but the new injury is actually their hamstring, right? You can have an L3 nerve root injury or irritation. It's less common. So you'll start to feel that your quad feels weaker. So you start to land harder, and that can cause issues anywhere down the chain. I've had several times where people, this has happened multiple times, they develop a tibial stress fracture because they had an L4 nerve root injury, which is their pretibial muscle. Their anterior tibialis is one of the most important muscles for landing of force absorption. That muscle gets weak and they don't even realize it, and it causes a stress fracture.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I've had it happen to multiple people now. For example, they're trying to do a marathon. As they're doing the marathon, they have a little bit of low back irritation or tightness kind of build, but they don't really feel that it's that painful. But then during the course of their last run, they start to develop shin pain. They're not going to stop. And then by the end of it, they give themselves a fracture and like a stress fracture in their tibia. And when they come in, that muscle is basically gone. We catch it was actually a back issue initially. That's not an uncommon one. You can have increased risk for ankle sprains because certain muscles that control where your foot's at. Calf one is an obvious one, like an Achilles tendinopathy. So if you have an S1 nerve root irritation, your calf starts to fire less well. You start to get more tension through your tendon, develop an Achilles tendinopathy, or you develop plantar heel pain. I mean, it's almost endless. It can be a root cause of a lot of the issues.
Yeah. So from the hips all the way down to the toes, there can be a ghostly back problem.
That can be a ghost in the system.
I know we talked a little bit about what I've done for my calf, which generally was just getting out of gravity, nerve flossing, and a little bit of glute activation. But for the other plethora of
what should you do?
Issues, what can you do?
The first one is just know if you have the issue. So do a thorough screen. If you've had a history of any back pain, if you're somebody who that should cue into this, if all of a sudden you have tightness in your back, or if you're somebody who has to limit the amount that you sit, or you have to use a standing desk, you're somebody who's going to be highly at risk for this developing because you've had a back history. So anybody that has a back history, you should assume if you develop lower extremity symptoms that you want to rule this out. Second one is to find really strong key signs that show how your back is feeling. It could be literally just the symptoms of tightness, but it could also be active range of motion from your low back. So you try to touch your toes, you extend, you go side to side. And what you do is you monitor that. If it starts to feel worse, you probably just did something that irritated your spine, but you want to do that around if you start to feel symptoms anywhere else in your legs too. Okay, my baseline symptoms in my back feel a little bit worse. My back might be contributing to this. So let's say you have those. You have a history of it. You found you have a key sign, active range of motion. The other one that you use would be like the slump test or the straight leg raise test.
Yeah.
Test for neural tension. Those are my two favorite ones for low back. Let's say you find those. The third thing is just the most basic things around low back health. So you can really be concerned about stretching. If you stretch it, you might make it worse, and instead do things like neural flossing. And then I would follow that up with some level of direct back treatment. It can be getting out of gravity like you did. It can be lumbar traction. Those are my favorite ones. And just start there. Those would be the easiest ones for you just to start to include. And then after all that's done, then I also look for basic supports that you can use. So artificial capacity, artificial stabilization tools like a brace, lumbar brace, making sure that you start to notice symptoms, you put the brace on. And if it makes your leg stuff feel better, it's probably participating in your symptoms.
That's an interesting one. I've never considered trying to just wear a back brace while playing. And
yeah, you know what's funny is I think that for some reason, the low back is unique in that most people will think that they're causing weakness when they use a brace. I don't see that. I've never seen that.
You're adding stability.
And I really think there's strong evidence that you're giving your spine proprioceptive support. So you're helping to control it. And if you really think of it as an instability, helping your own nervous system control your spine. So I don't like the negative connotations around using a lumbar brace. It's fascinating because you don't really see it around any other areas. People wearing an ankle brace, your brain's not going, oh, you're making your whole leg weaker. It's not said the same way. And I think the evidence that that's happening is so much weaker than the evidence that we clearly have that previous back pain increases the risk for dysfunction in the muscle and muscle atrophy. It just seems.
But what if you're playing volleyball in a power lifter's back brace?
That'd be hilarious.
That would be really funny.
If you do start to do that, we have to take photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would be fine with it, but that's not what I would use. Yeah. But yeah, I think that
not stigmatized in that realm, but
no, it's definitely not there. And I mean, they use it really well too. I mean, they push against it. Like you don't think that those people have weakness.
And then the other part that I always go back to is you see on the sidelines of NBA games all the time. I think of Steve Nash was just always laying. Anytime he was not in the game, he was laying down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clear that that's worked at the highest level of athletes. So I think for us regular 9-to-5ers, it's a good reminder to get out of gravity every once in a while if your back hurts.
It really
Even
helps.
if it doesn't hurt.
It really helps. Your lumbar discs basically get compressed throughout the day. You lose disc height. You lose fluid inside the disc. We call that hydration management. You can get out of gravity. It starts to rehydrate the disc. It's one of the reasons why throughout the day you get shorter. It's literally your body's pushing fluid out of the disc.
Good old gravity.
Good old gravity. Mm-hmm.
With you or against you.
You got it.
Anything else to hit today on this one?
No, I think it's just more be aware of it. Not something to be afraid of. It's not to make you nervous about your back. It's more just if you have a back history and you all of a sudden are starting to catch recurrent low extremity injuries.
Could be a correlation there.
Yeah, that could be a back thing.
Alrighty. If you take one thing away from my marathon weekend in the sand, it is stop listening to the smoke and start looking for the fire. The fire was in my back, but I couldn't feel it. The sprinkler system was not working. My calf spent all of Saturday trying to convince me I was the victim, but it was really just a witness to a crime happening in my lower back.
Dude. So that sounds like a Bruce Springsteen song that you just did right there.
Was it?
Yeah, that could, if you could sing, that would work.
I can sing. I just won't do it.
Not today.
No.
Stupid.
Alrighty. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the podcast. You can go follow us on Instagram. You can go to smithperformancecenter.com. Anything else they can do?
We can do a lot.
Yeah.
Just come
do
to
a
us.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just come to Smith Performance Center down in Tucson or go to the website and sign up for some online physical therapy. Get your diet right.
Get everything right. You know what's interesting, though? If you do have this as an issue and you want to be a case study, let us know. We can work through.
We've been asking for case studies for 60 episodes. Nobody's come forward.
I do think I have gotten a few, and we haven't.
We've ignored them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
But we won't do that anymore.
I'm the case study.
You're the case study.
Yeah,
I actually wanted to use somebody as a case study who asked for it. Alex said no. It's me today.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that would actually be hilarious.
You lied right now. Alrighty. We'll see you on the next one.
All right. PYP, baby.
Peace. Man who taught me that sometimes the smoke in your calf. I need to start over.
It's all right.
Smoke is in your calf.
Reading is like your big issue. That's the part. It's like my favorite part.
An idiot.
What's your kryptonite? You're like reading.
Literacy.
My issue is words written down.
And the man who taught me that sometimes the smoke in your calf. Oh, I've been on a good streak too. I probably had 10 episodes without a.
Yeah, you've been killing it. I like that. What do you mean by what are you trying to say?
The smoke is in your calf, but the fire is in your back. The smoke is in your calf, but the fire is in your back. I don't even fucking like that one either. God damn it. Last take.
That was a good one.